So the first fancy term that we're going to work on is this idea of theory of change. And if you boil down theory of change to the nuts and bolts, it's basically if-then statement. So if we do these strategies, then we expect to get these outcomes. And what we'd like you to think about is this roadmap to change. The overarching if-then statement for most of our youth-led programs is given, right? It's right here. If we empower young people to act as community change agents and equip them to work collectively to create community-level change, then young people in my program will engage in a planning process to create and implement a strategic plan that uses evidence-based strategies to influence community-level change. This can be your if-then statement. So do you have an elevator speech now? Yes. Exactly. This is my program, this is what I do, and you can say it in one slide. We have to think through a process. Begin with the end in mind. In your youth-led group, what is that culminating activity? What is it that you hope your young people will engage in? So this is my goal. Young people are going to create and implement a school-wide prevention strategy. Notice I don't say what that strategy is, I don't say what the topic is, because that's what the young people are going to choose, right? They have to go through the process. They have to identify the need in their community, and then we have to ask ourselves the backup question. So what are the necessary KSAs, knowledge, skills, and attitudes that must be developed to achieve these goals? If I want my young people to implement a school-wide prevention strategy, I want to make sure they know what prevention is and what effective prevention is. So right away at the top of my list is cognitive empowerment, and I'm going to say it's content knowledge. So in my third column, I translate my KSAs into very specific learning objectives. I can make a specific objectives. Young people will name and cite examples of the 6 CSAP strategies. Okay, so now all of a sudden you have your goal, you have your KSA, you have it within empowerment so you can kind of relate it back to youth empowerment, and then you have things that you want to do. So now all of a sudden when someone says, what are you doing? You're just buying people pizza, you're having fun. Well, no, we can tell them. And your young people need to know too. This is why you're here. So this is our theory of change, right? And it helps us be purposeful and intentional about what we're going to do. This makes your youth-led program a little bit more measurable. And then we get to that point where how can we just figure out and map our theory of change? And that's where, again, the big dog comes in place. And that is the strategic plan map. And so we have our theory of change, which has our goal, but then what KSAs do we need and our learning objectives. And this is where we transition from theory of change to theory of action. And then we get from our learning objectives to our activities. Activities are specific time-bound things. Okay, host a leadership session. I'm going to have 6 meetings. And then we have that final outputs column. So we have to have some outputs or process measures. We have the KSAs and we have our learning objectives. We have to have some kind of output to show. We don't need to pre-test and post-test the kids who are involved in our program, the young people. But can we create a portfolio to say, at the end of the year, this is what they did? We're working on kind of developing tools to measure individual empowerment and group empowerment. We hope to have that developed by next year. Okay, that'll be our legacy that we work on together. But your program's legacy is keeping that portfolio, okay? Because that is where the proof is.